to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, everybody, for coming. Man, I tell you, it is really nice to see a full house with everybody here. I wish we could get more people in attendance and people to be more involved in our county's government. It is refreshing to see. All right, so amendment and approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any amendments?
I do, sir. August 22nd meeting. I have a commitment. I'd like to see, is there any way we could move that meeting? That's our second meeting in August, Thursday the 29th, or the 22nd.
Why don't we move that to, your microphone needs to be turned on.
Sorry.
Why don't we just move that to elected official updates? Can we do that? And just have that discussion about that, moving those dates
Sure.
then? Can we do that? So we can do that towards the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to make an amendment to the actual agenda for that.
I have one addition to the consent agenda.
Okay?
We just got notice, we just got the bids back for the annual Curry County road striping. And I want to add the bid award to the consent agenda. We had one, we put it out to all bidders, but we had one response. It's higher than it had been budgeted for, but that's because the state of Oregon has raised the base pay for stripers, for road stripers, from about $30 to about $70 an hour. So, this impacts our road funds, but we have
Yeah.
fundamental duties to keep the roads safe, so.
So we'll add that to consent agenda item as K.
Striping.
So any other amendments? No? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the agenda
I'll second.
as amended.
All right, motion and a second, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes, motion passes 3-0. So now we will move directly into general public comments. And I'll just remind everybody that when you do make your public comments, that you have 3 minutes to make your public comments. And please be respectful. And you can be mad at us, but don't be mad at our staff. They work very hard. Also, I want to welcome and recognize all 3 Coos County commissioners who are here this evening. We really appreciate that. And I've got a couple public speaking slips, which I'll call you guys up in a minute. But also, we have elected official comments as well, so if you'd like to make a second comment at that time, you certainly can. So thank you for attending tonight. So first up in public comments are Don Bemis and Debbie.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, we are the coordinators for Wreaths Across America, again, still. And just an update that we are well on schedule to collect enough donations to place a wreath on every veteran's grave again this year. Also, we've been committed to have the flyby by our local pilots again, weather permitting. We appreciate Chairman Brad to speak with us. Everybody's invited. There'll be a breakfast, light breakfast we can get. Dr. Carlson is going to sing for us again. And it's just a fantastic thing. If the people know about it, more than welcome to come to Brookings. Gold Beach has their ceremony as well now. And I've been told that Crescent City is trying to get theirs going as well. Also, on our ceremony, there is a good chance that it may be televised or filmed by Oregon PBS. We spoke to the crew at the Light Festival last year, and got him into a corner, and he was very excited about possibly filming our ceremony. It's about a half-hour blurb, and it's on Oregon PBS. Us As We Are is the name of their little documentary show. And they've done several different ones that we've seen. Also, Brad, you know that the VFW Hall is coming along very good.
Yep.
And they've wanted me to pass along an invitation for if you'd like to hold your town hall meeting in Brookings at the VFW Hall.
That would be great. That would be great. And I did, and I know Commissioner-elect Hollinger was there too. We did get to attend your ribbon cutting ceremony, and that is just an absolutely awesome facility. It's great to see the work that's been done there. It's open, it's accessible. I think it will really encourage new membership to come in, and you guys put a really good event on. Amazing cake, by the way, that you made.
And they're looking to also, anybody that wants to do events there, you can contact the VFW.
Okay.
There at any time and discuss that with them. And
Yep.
set up any type of events that you might want to do there. They're trying
Yeah.
to open this up to veterans and to local people for special events.
Yeah. Yeah, and anybody in attendance right now regarding Wreaths Across America, that is an event that I look forward to every year. The flyovers are awesome, but the event itself is it's very well put together, very well coordinated. It's a great way to honor those who have served and sacrificed, and it's a pretty special event. And if you're able to go, I really encourage your attendance. Every year, it's just it seems to just get better.
Right, well, this year it's December 14th at 9 a.m. That corresponds with the National Wreath Across America Day that starts at noon Eastern Time at Arlington Cemetery. Last year, they placed over 3 million wreaths worldwide, this group. And they're all done by donations, all done by volunteers. The truckers deliver to us. They donate their time and fuel, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Our cemetery in Brookings is not a military cemetery, but we have 400 veterans in our cemetery. So everybody's invited, and again, commissioners are invited, and Brad, we'd like to see you there again. Everybody's invited. We had a good time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So next up is Terry Hughes, and Terry is our fair manager, and we asked Terry to come tonight because, as you know, I'm on the fair board, and we had a very difficult decision to make at Thursday's fair board meeting, and that was whether or not we were going to have a fair parade. And we are lacking volunteers right now in our community, and we're lacking volunteers to help put that parade on. Terry has been working from many different angles to try to get some volunteer participation, and we did have somebody in the community step up, and Terry can give us an update through public comment on where that stands right now. Terry?
Good afternoon. I'm Terry Hughes, the Fairgrounds Manager, as Brad said. We did have to make a difficult decision this Tuesday. We just don't have enough hands to perform a parade in Gold Beach. We've had many people step up and say that they want to help, and it kind of opened some doors for us for it still to be a possibility. The appropriate things have to happen in order to make that happen, and we have to get approval to honor our ODOT contract, but it's something that we are open to and we're working on, and it wasn't an easy decision to make. We know how important that fair parade is to the community and to the people that have been in it for so many years.
So, Terry, there is a person in the community that stepped up, Jesse, I can't remember his last name, he attended the meeting.
Jesse Flovin, and I do have his number at the office. I kind of flew out of the office to get here, so I don't have that. Many people who have Facebook where we actually posted the parade would not happen. He has gone on Gold Beach Forum and put his phone number and his personal information out there for people to contact him, and if you don't have Facebook, feel free to stop by the office and I could put you in contact with him.
Yep, so anybody who's watching or anybody in attendance that's interested in helping, they can reach out to Jesse. We have scheduled another Fair Board meeting for Monday evening. And it wasn't a scheduled meeting, but we added one, so in hopes that we could address this issue and tighten up any other issues that might come up with Fair. So hopefully, we can continue to coordinate with Jesse and get enough people to pull that parade off. And we'll have more information for you Monday after that meeting, and we'll certainly make those announcements, but we really do need volunteers. And in fact, I think you're working a ticket booth, aren't you?
Am.
All right. So, thank you, Terry, and we will, looks like you're getting an update.
So it looks like Jesse Flovin did put his number out here, and it is on Facebook. I feel like I can share it now. So if anybody's got a pen and pencil and they want to write this down, this is on Gold Beach Community Forum. That number is 541-425-0598. And we just really want to thank Jesse for kind of taking on this role. It's a big role to coordinate not only the cones and the people and the route and making sure all the T's are crossed and the I's.
It's labor intensive.
It's labor intensive. And the fairgrounds needs as many volunteers as we can get. I've got a whole list. I think Jesse actually put it out here. That's my handwriting.
And I also want to add to what Terry's saying. Terry, I know you've spoken to many of our civic groups, our organizations that have volunteered and helped in the past. And a lot of those groups, they need volunteers too. They need to build their volunteer base up. And I know that we have some that are helping. We have some that are not able to help. I know Terry reached out to the football team and to just as many groups and organizations as she could, and unfortunately we couldn't reach the volunteer numbers that we needed to pull this off. So as people step up in the community, hopefully we can do it, and we'll keep you updated. All right, thank you, Terry.
Thanks for all your hard work, Terry.
Next up is Rod Taylor, Coos County Commissioner.
Chair Alcorn, Commissioner Trost,
How are you?
Commissioner Herzog, nice to see you all, Counselor. I'm pleased to be here today to just participate in your meeting and see how you run things here. It's refreshing and good to see you all, of course. I'm very much looking forward to the primary reason to be here today, which is the presentation to come at the end of the meeting regarding a new and creative approach to our mutual and common problem of the lack of ONC revenues that adversely affects both of our counties to a great degree. And I've often said in our own commissioning chambers that the failure of the Bureau of Land Management to faithfully fulfill the ONC Act of 1937 amounts to an illegal taking. Some people take umbrage with that terminology on my part, but I do believe that it's true. I believe that the Chevron decision of recent weeks renders some credibility to my specific terminology, that what's happened has been an illegal application of bureaucratic standards that has equated to a taking of what should be our rightful revenues for those 2 million acres, which I'll remind all of you, and for anyone who in the room who is not aware, those 2 million acres produce timber at a rate of 1.2 billion board feet per year. And yet the harvest level is just barely over 200 million board feet per year, in clear violation of the 1937 ONC Act. With the failure of the court system, including the Supreme Court of the United States, to take up our case and render us an appropriate judgment that would be consistent with what's morally right and what's legally required by the 1937 Act. I am very heartened at the prospect that we have a new approach that hopefully follows along the lines of what was accomplished in Apache County, Arizona. And so I'm looking forward to hearing that, and I hope that everybody in the room is able to stay and hear what we have in store for that undertaking. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks.
Next up is John Sweet, also a commissioner from Coos County.
Actually, I didn't mean to sign up for general comments, just I wanted to be able to comment on the presentation.
Okay, you'll get an opportunity as well, John. Thank you. All right. I don't see any other slips for public comments. Did I miss anybody? I don't think I did.
No.
Okay. All right, we will move on then to the consent agenda.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
I'll second that.
And I just want to add one comment for discussion on the consent agenda before we vote, and that is, on there is the hire of a deputy district attorney position, which we worked out through our budget process. That is a key position in our efforts to maintain as much public safety as we possibly can here with the cuts that we've had to implement and face. And, you know, all of our city municipalities, all of our other, you know, Sheriff's Department, OSP, they all rely on the district attorney. We can't prosecute crimes without a district attorney that's functioning at capacity. And this hire will, well, it will prevent, hopefully, the district attorney from falling behind in those prosecutions. And it is definitely a key piece of public safety. So it's good to see. And we've been searching for a while to try to fill a spot. So fortunate for that. That being said, we have a motion and a second. So all in favor?
Yes.
And yes, motion passes 3-0. So now we will move into our public hearing portion, which is
I can do it, Brad. It's a public hearing, must be held for the petitions for annexation into Ophir and Wedderburn rural fire protection districts. That's gonna be, Harpole into Ophir RFPD, Connor into Ophir RFPD, Bove into Ophir RFPD, Edgar.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I think we have to open,
Oh, okay.
I need
With the
to,
time and.
yep. So we need to have a motion to open a public hearing.
I'll move.
Second?
All right, motion and a second, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes, so we will open this public hearing at 4:18. And now that the hearing is open at 4:18, we can proceed, Ted.
Harpole, Connor, Bove, Edgar, Teague, Turner, and Crumley, and Taylor into the Ophir Rural Protection Protection District, and Wyckoff into the Wedderburn Rural Fire Protection District. Those are the subject of the hearing.
All right, now that we've heard each of these, do any of these owners wish to speak? Anyone? Okay. Do we have any other public comments related to the annexations? No? Okay.
All right, we got to go through each one of these.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll move to approve the petition for annexation, BOC annexation number 24-09.
Second?
Motion and second, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes, passes 3-0.
I'll move to approve the petition for annexation, BOC annexation number 24-10.
Second?
Motion and second, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes, passes 3-0.
I'll move to approve the petition for annexation, BOC annexation number 24-11.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes.
I'll move to approve the petition for annexation, BOC annexation number 24-12.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
And yes.
Yes.
Passes 3-0.
I will move to approve the petition for annexation, BOC annexation number 24-13.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes, passes 3-0.
I'll move to approve the petition for annexation, BOC annexation number 24-14.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes, passes 3-0.
I'll move to approve the petition for annexation, BOC annexation number 24-15.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes, motion passes 3-0.
I'll move to approve the petition for annexation, BOC annexation number 24-16.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes, passes 3-0.
I'll move to approve the petition for annexation, BOC annexation number 24-17.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes, passes 3-0.
I'll move to approve the petition for annexation, BOC annexation number 24-18.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. All right, everybody has been annexed.
And, you know, I think we have been seeing scores of annexation requests over the last couple of months, and I think that also will lead into the conversation that we're going to have later in the presentation regarding fire protection. I know many of you, specifically, I know the commissioners that are in here, are very aware of the fire risk assessment map that was put out by the state of Oregon, which puts a large piece of liability on individuals trying to retain insurance to insure their properties. And it is it's making it very difficult for people. Some people are not getting their insurance underwritten, and you know, we're seeing more and more of these annexations into the rural fire protection agencies. So, like I said, I think it will lend an additional arm of credibility into today's presentation as well. So,
Any further discussion, John?
Sir?
Jay, anything else?
no.
All right, then it is 4:22, and I will close this public hearing. We will continue in our agenda, and next up is our discussion action items. 6A, which is a discussion on ODOT legislation, and Keena, that's you, because there could be some pretty serious impacts that relate to the budget and relate to road funds, and I think that we have that discussion, so go ahead.
Absolutely. We were contacted by AOC in regards to a process in which they're trying to get all 36 counties to come together kind of as a strong force, as ODOT is looking or positioning themselves to reduce our share of the state highway funds. We currently receive about $3 million of state highway funds. This is the 50-30 share, 50-30-20 share that the state of Oregon shares with counties and cities in order to take care of county and city roads. Everybody is lacking funding, including the Department of Transportation, so they are really trying to position themselves into reducing, not eliminating, but reducing our 30% share of state highway funds. So we compiled information as well as wish lists. The road department staff and I worked together to compile a bunch of information, matrix information, historical information, and projected information as to the cost of repairing our county roads. And AOC, like I said, is going to go and fight at the state level for us to retain county fundings the best we can. This puts us, it's a scary situation. The budget committee put ourselves in a situation of considering the use of some road funds, and potentially, or with the potential of losing more funding in our roads department, is critical of us to reserve as much as we can in that road fund in the event that we do lose additional funding. Because it could potentially be up to half of our operating budget of the roads department.
So can you tell us what amount we receive from the state?
So total, we receive about $6 million from the state in different funding sources. This particular money is the shared highway fund portion of that, which is about $3 million that we get from the state of Oregon.
So we could see a reduction potentially of 1.5, is that what I heard?
Potentially, yeah,
So,
depending on how they decide to reduce the funding, if they do. AOC is going to be reaching directly out to commissioners, asking for your support, asking for you to go in and sign a letter together so that they can fight at the state level to try to reserve the funding. As the county, 60% of the roads are county roads in the state of Oregon, and these are numbers that were given to me by the AOC. So reducing funding for 60% of the roads that need repaired by counties could be pretty detrimental to the state and other counties.
I would have thought that would have been more
It'd be
county road.
25% of our overall road budget.
Right.
And so I'm sure, commissioners, we will be discussing this at the AOC District 4 meeting as well, as a collaborative group, as a concern. But hopefully we can get it kind of pinned down before then, so.
And it was a very extensive list of financial numbers and, like I said, even wish and wants that we put out there just to show them what it really costs us to do and how underfunded we really are on some of the larger projects. So
Yeah.
really great information that the AOC is compiling to go in and fight on our behalf with.
And for those watching at home, AOC is the Association of Counties. That's what we're referring to. That's, in fact, AOC is where I went to county college and provided that training, and they coordinate a lot of county resources and communication between the counties. And for those watching at home, I want to remind everybody that just to have the minimal level of public safety that we have, we used
1.28, yes.
of road funds to, so $1.28 million just to have, with all the cuts that we had to implement, we still had to use over $1 million of road funds. So this could be very impactful to our county's continuing financial struggles. Any more comment, John? Jay? All right. Thank you, Keena. Very much appreciate it. I think that Sheriff Ward was outside. We can move on to our next discussion action item, which was discussion on public safety. And Commissioner-elect Hollinger, you wanted to make a public comment, correct?
I could do it after the sheriff does his thing if he'd like.
Sure, we can.
However you guys would want to structure it.
We
Typically, public comment comes before, but it's up to you.
doesn't matter.
I could wait, that's fine.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I say you arm wrestle further. Who goes first?
You have to pull that microphone.
I know.
Not for tall
The
people.
height thing here, it really gets me. I've law enforcement and supporting our law enforcement and our veterans has always been something near and dear to my heart. And I've got friends who serve, and I have friends in law enforcement, and I thank them every day for their service and what they stand for. And I've had a lot of time to process everything that we went through here recently with our budgets, and now seeing the effects that we're going to have regarding our public safety and the nervousness that our community and our citizens now face going forward. I've prepared a statement that I'd like to read, and anyways, it's in regards to this. So, public safety is a matter of great importance to our community, yet many of our citizens right now feel exposed. Unfortunately, with our limited county revenue, confusion over public safety priorities, and the lack of a community-wide consensus regarding a comprehensive public safety plan, our neighbors will remain feeling vulnerable. Since the unfortunate failure of our sheriff levy this past election cycle, the sheriff has contemplated putting on the next ballot in November the possibility for a special sheriff tax district. The establishment of a special sheriff tax district, I think, would be crucial for enhancing public safety and providing proper security to our county and ensuring that our sheriff's department is adequately funded directly by the citizens of our county to protect and serve us all. However, to move forward with the consideration of forming a special sheriff tax district, it is imperative that we address a fundamental issue that concerns many of our residents regarding the sheriff's department, and that is the lack of transparency within our sheriff's department. We understand that trust and transparency are the cornerstone of any successful initiative, and that trust must be earned and maintained through openness, honesty, and accountability. Therefore, I am requesting that there be an in-depth, transparent financial review of the Sheriff's Department to be provided to the citizens of Curry County. This financial review will serve 4 critical purposes and goals, one of them being transparency. By conducting this financial review, we will be able to provide a clear and detailed account of how funds have been received, allocated, and spent within the department. This transparency to our citizens is essential to ensure and prove that every taxpayer dollar is being used effectively and responsibly, especially if the sheriff and the county asks our citizens to support and vote for a special sheriff's tax district. Number 2 would be accountability. The financial review would hold the sheriff's department accountable for its financial priorities, practices, controls, and reporting. It will identify any possible discrepancies, inefficiencies, or areas where improvement can be made. And it will also identify the positive aspects within the department as well. Accountability is a key component of good governance, and it is our duty to ensure that public institutions are operating with its highest standards of integrity. Item 3 would be for trust building. The citizens of Curry County deserve to know that their tax dollars are being managed wisely. This goes for all of the county departments, not just the sheriff's department. By conducting this financial review, we will be able to build trust between the sheriff's department and the community it serves. When our citizens see that we are all committed to transparency and accountability, they will be more likely to support, vote, and pay for the establishment of a special sheriff tax district. And lastly, informed decision-making. The financial review will provide all citizens with valuable insights and data, which lays the foundation for creating a comprehensive plan for our county's public safety. This decision-making process assures that our citizens are both the authors and supporters of our Curry County public safety departments and programs. Additionally, this process may uncover and define other needs where additional funding is required, ensuring that resources are allocated in the most effective and efficient manner possible. In closing, I want to strongly emphasize that this request for
an in-depth, transparent financial review is not about casting blame or finding fault. It is about establishing a foundation of trust for a stronger, more transparent, and more accountable county and sheriff's department, which the citizens of Curry County have been seeking for several years. We can effectively serve our community by taking this necessary, crucial step, and in doing so, we will demonstrate our commitment to good governance and ensure the success of the possible special sheriff tax district initiative. I appreciate your consideration in this matter and your cooperation in working together in a professional and non-divisive manner. In doing so, we can achieve our goals of creating a safer, more transparent, and more prosperous Curry County. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. So, good afternoon, Sheriff. So, you put out a press release recently. It was in the on social media and it was in the newspaper. And then when that went out, I don't know about the two of you, but I got a lot of feedback from that press release. I got a lot of questions from the public, and I wasn't sure how to answer all of them. So I thought it would be good if the people heard from you. Probably the most frequent asked question that I got was, in the press release, you said that you were down to 3 patrol deputies.
That's correct.
So the questions I got were, so we still have yourself, the lieutenant,
Right?
and then we have 2 sergeants
Nope.
and a Marine deputy.
The one sergeant is restricted to search and rescue, Marine, and forest. The other sergeant is the patrol sergeant. We lost one sergeant position that was a patrol sergeant as well.
Okay. So, and I guess that leads into the question that was asked. The question that was asked was, so we have a total of 8 patrol, but one of them, well, 2 of them, we have a Marine deputy and then the forest sergeant. The question was, does this mean that only 3 deputies would be handling calls for service and patrolling, or is everyone going to be patrolling and handling calls for service?
I'll get to that answer. I just want the public to know that I've never been accused of being non-transparent or fiscally responsible. I'm probably the most frugal sheriff there's ever been when it comes to spending. We have never been over budget, always been under budget. And so I'm not sure where that's coming from. And I would support a financial audit. Have no problem with that. Would look every place you can on that. But don't ever accuse us of being non-transparent or non-fiscally responsible. I don't know where you got that. And you guys aren't being very transparent either, because I was told to come here to talk about the commissioners and general public express interest in having you address the current staffing and coverage moving forward.
That's
But here, it's, you know,
Well, that's what I
you're
want to.
questioning me about things that I put out that is facts. This press release is all about facts. And that's what I put out. No pointing any fingers, is basically saying that we were cut so many positions and we have to live with those positions being cut.
Right. And nobody here is pointing any fingers either, Sheriff.
Well, it sure sounds like it, sure feels like it.
Well, nobody's
And then I
pointing.
get a phone call from your county council. You going to be at that meeting on Thursday? I said, yes, but what's it about? He goes, well, it's about this, and I said, yeah, I'll be there.
It is about staffing. That's
Well,
what my questions are
You
about.
got myself, I've been called out 4 times since in a week. Unattended deaths, drownings, fire, some other, I mean, it just never stops. And I only got like 3 supervisors. That's myself, the lieutenant, and and the patrol sergeant.
Okay.
And 2 deputies that were detectives, now they're not detectives anymore, they're road deputies. And the 3rd deputy has been transferred into the jail for staffing problems because we had 2 positions cut from the corrections. We had 2 people on medical, 1 person on light duty, and then I had a couple resignations, so I had to move the deputies that were moving into corrections early, just for the staffing of the jail, because we're still a 24/7 jail and a 24/7 dispatch. I have to have people in those seats. And we just didn't have them, so I moved the deputies over. The 1 deputy that when I referred to 2 deputies on the road right now, I have 2 deputies on the road right now, patrol deputies, handling calls. We all handle calls. I was called out this morning on a traffic crash down in milepost 342, a log truck versus another vehicle. Could have been fatal. It was a bad accident.
Well, and I think that's what the public wanted clarification on. I think when they read your press release, it sounded like
Everybody has their own caseload. I have a caseload, not just the sheriff's duties that I'm responsible for, because I am the chief law enforcement officer of the county, and my office is that as well. But, you know, when we get cut down to 6 people, there's no way to handle the calls that are coming in. So we've had to do a workaround and handle the best what we can with the resources that we have. I'm not sure what we're going to do if we get those fires that are coming. I was told there's 5 lightning start fires up in the Bear Camp area. My job is to provide patrol coverage and to evacuation and the fire zones, and to determine the evacuation zones like the 1, 2s, and 3s, patrol the lands after we evacuate people, and try to get people back in their homes. And with just a few of us, I'm not sure how we're going to do that. So I just want to make sure people were aware of that.
well, and I think those were the questions that I was getting was what is the actual number of people that are handling calls and patrolling? And
There's 6 of us that are doing that, including myself. I roll on almost every call now.
okay.
And plus the amount of civils that are coming through, we have to serve those as well in the meantime.
And then if we have some type of a major emergency, whether it's a fire, a shooting, a deputy down, that kind of thing, we can still use the forest sergeant and the Marine deputy to help stabilize those situations, yes?
The Marine deputy is restricted funds, and I'm sure they wouldn't have a problem if I use him on a very rare occasions, but he's not getting paid by the county or anything to do county work. He's getting paid to do Marine work. So if I have to use him, I would call him out, but on rare occasions.
Okay.
The Marine sergeant and the SAR sergeant, he's been on training all week long with the Oregon State Marine Board here. If you notice, we have a bunch of Marine deputies here training annually, every year. And it seems like every time they're here, we have a situation they get involved in. In fact, one of the Lynn County deputies came upon a drowning within about a minute and a half after the guy drowned. He'd been underwater 46 minutes. One of them dove in the water after him when they located where he was. Other Marine deputies showed up and helped. I mean, we just don't have the coverage that we would normally have. That's what I'm saying. And we won't be able, our call loads are going to go way up. Our response times are going to be way up, and the calls we handle are going to go way down. Because we're only going to be able to respond to person-to-person crimes in progress, and we're only going to be able to do a shift a day. We used to be able to, on 7 days a week, we'd have up to 18 hours of coverage. Right now we have 10 hours of coverage on one shift to make it safe for everybody that's here to be able to work together.
Well, and that was another question that I got, Sheriff, was what is the patrol schedule? What does that look like?
Well, we just started it. I mean, the 15th was the deadline, and everybody turned in their patrol cars. I have 18 patrol cars sitting out the county shops right now, vacant, and all their gear was turned in, and the deputies are gone. So, in order to provide the best service that we can, we're not going to be, responding to priorities 4s and 5s, which is the trespassers, the criminal mischiefs, somebody broke into my car, somebody did something to my property or whatever. We're not going to be able to respond to those. We're going to have people filling out self-report forms, turning them in, and then we'll advise by after we review those if we're going to respond to it or not. But on any person-to-person call, we will respond if it's a life-threatening issue,
So,
day or night.
Can you provide some guidance to the public on where they turn those forms into?
It's gonna be on the website. We have a form that's for a self-report form, and we're trying to make it fillable right now, so where they can just fill it in and email it to
Push
us.
submit?
But
In the meantime, what do you know a good email address they can send it to? Because when I went on, it's not listed on the form itself. I asked that it be included into the website, but to just
Well, the website's been redone by Revise, I think it is, and it hasn't been there yet. But
and I got a couple questions about that too, because I got some feedback that people were frustrated because they couldn't navigate it. So the patrol schedule, Sheriff, are you guys patrolling, are you at night, daytime, weekends? What's it look
One shift a
like?
day, and it's 8 a.m. till 6 p.m.
Okay,
And I'm not sending anybody out there without backup.
okay,
So if we get called out in the middle of the night or whatever, they're gonna have to call out 2 people. And if there's not 2 people, I'm gonna respond by myself.
well, you shouldn't respond to anything by yourself.
Well, that's what we're faced with. If we can't get a hold of somebody's on vacation, somebody's out for training, somebody's sick. That's why we're all facing on one shift, so there'll be a little bit of coverage where they can get some work done on the reports, follow-ups done. My 2 detectives that were detectives that are now patrol deputies, they're still dealing with the major crimes like rapes and some major drug burglaries and things like that. So they're going to be tied up on that, and they're still part of the major crimes team. So if they get called on that, I won't have anybody but maybe myself and the lieutenant to respond.
Okay,
is it 8 to 6 p.m.
8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
8 a.m. to 6 p.m. 7 days a week?
5 days a week.
Okay.
So the current system is if somebody reports a crime, they call into dispatch.
Yes.
Okay, and so this report form already exists, right?
It already exists. We've had that on the website prior to, I don't know why it's not there, but it should be.
Well, yeah, I'm just looking at it and I see that it's asking the public to do, I'm not sure, what are you gonna use this for? Because it seems like dispatch serves a role where, in the intake side of crime reporting, that this isn't gonna answer.
The self-report forms are for people for the calls that we're not gonna be able to respond to. They're gonna come in and they're gonna be into a system where a supervisor can go out and look on them, pull them up, and see which ones that we can respond to, because we're not, with just 2 to 3 deputies, we're not able to respond to that.
But will it be dispatch who's determining that? Because you're kind of leaving this up to the public. If the public is having to decide
Notifications are going out to what our response times are. There will be a telephone tree, and we're working on information to put on that. I had it printed out, but I didn't bring it over with me.
Sheriff, can they still call into dispatch and create a CAD and
I
then,
do have it.
and could they still call into dispatch, create a CAD, and then you guys get to the CAD when you get?
What they will be directed to do is to fill out the SRF form and send it to us.
Okay, so if they call dispatch,
It's gonna be
dispatch will,
mostly about documentation on calls. We're not going to be able to investigate everything that comes in.
okay.
So I guess if somebody reported, they went online, they reported a residential burglary, for example, right? Then that report's gonna go where a supervisor's gonna review it.
Yes.
And then he's gonna say, okay, residential burglary, and then
We won't be responding unless it's a life or death situation.
what if there's follow-up on it? Like, there's video of a suspect or there's,
Well, that's something that the supervisor will have to review and see if
Okay.
it's something that we can respond to and fix. And they'll assign it to one of the deputies.
okay. Okay, so there's a review process, they'll look at it, and if it's something that looks like there's follow-up or there's some further action that they can take, then it'll still get out there.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that makes sense, and that was, some people were a little bit confused about that, from
They
the,
need to know that they're not going to have the service that they're used to having with us.
of course, you can't provide that with the limited resources
And
you
it was
have.
quite obvious, it was quite obvious starting a couple weeks ago that nobody knew what was going on. And when they said that we won't be able to respond to those calls and this is what's going to happen, you know, why? Well, we've been, due to budget cuts, we lost a lot of positions and mostly came out of patrol, so we won't have the services. And they go, well, how did that happen? So that's why I put this press release out, so people will know that, yeah, there's an issue, instead of calling in and say, why isn't the sheriff responding? He's not doing his job. Well, I can't do the job without the funds to do the job. And it's all about having personnel. Thank you.
Makes sense. So what is the policy, and this was a question that I got and concerns from people with quite a bit of criticism towards us. What is the policy for emergency calls that come in when we don't have anyone on duty?
Then they'll call a supervisor and see about if there was, if fits the criteria to respond, we'll respond.
Okay.
If it's a life or death situation, or it's like the Calor Life Flight, I got called out on one of those, where they wouldn't go into a place because a guy had shot himself in the head, but he was still alive. So we sent deputies to that. And then I did the same thing with another one. That policy is that if it's a life-threatening thing or somebody needs our assistance, if an officer needs backup, we'll get called and we'll respond.
Okay, and we're not sending deputies by themselves to those types of
No.
calls, right? Okay. Mutual aid, have you had any discussions with the chiefs or other departments
I have.
about?
I've talked to, just talked to Brian Spiney, and he says, we don't have the resource to respond to handle your calls. And I says, I don't want you to, but if we ask you to, that's what we're, you know, he said, as long as you ask us, and we'll decide if we can have that resource or not. Hank Hobart called me today and basically told me the same thing. We do not have resources to go out our city to handle your calls, but if you ask for backup or something, we will go.
Okay, so if it's at night and we only have one deputy that's capable of responding, we could
Usually
call.
They don't have anybody on at nighttime either, so.
Yeah, but I guess that's my question, and if it was a call near Gold Beach, would they send somebody to back our guy up so he's not going by himself? Or would Brookings send if it was South
If
County?
we ask them to, yes.
Okay,
If they have somebody available.
okay,
And that's what I want to make sure for them, is not to self-dispatch, because it's not fair
Right.
for the cities that pay for their deputies or their officers to have their officers out of their area and leave the city underprotected.
okay. And then, I wanted to know, we had talked about this before, and I know you feel strongly about a special district being the best funding solution that we could present right now. So do you have a plan? Have you considered putting that on the November ballot?
I
Is there-
can't put anything on the ballot. That's up to you guys. The sheriff doesn't have any authority to put anything on the ballot. The commissioners have to do that. And like I said before, I do support a law enforcement district. We have to get the funds, permanent funds, so we don't ever go through this stuff again. It's gonna cost the county millions and millions of dollars to rehire, because everything that we've been trying to do is fashioned after Josephine County. The sheriff over there called me and says, you guys have no clue what's going to happen, because it's been 10 to 12 years since they had to do the same thing that we just did, and they're still trying to recover. And he says it's cost millions of dollars. So in order to, like I say, I have 18 cars parked out there at the road department. And if we chose to sell those cars, we'd get pennies on the dollars for them. And then when we go to start hiring somebody, we'd have to buy a new car, all the equipment, and then the training, and it takes about a year to train somebody, to get somebody on the road. So it's just, there's a lot of domino effects that happen when this happened, and it's unintended consequences that are happening. And it's just, when you got deputies coming to you with their faces on the ground and no place to go, no place to call a workplace, and they're packing up their stuff and going, it breaks your heart. Because the last 10 years I was being the sheriff, I built this sheriff's office up to where we provide the best public safety we can. And now it's ripped from us, and I don't know what else to do. Just continue going on, doing the best we can. And that's what we're going to do. We're always going to be here, but the services are going to be a lot less than what they were.
So I just have one more topic to bring up, and that would be looking at future funding solutions, looking at presenting a funding solution to the public, which I think is what Commissioner-elect Hollinger was commenting on, was
That's exactly what I was commenting on, is being able to talk to a lot of our citizens out here and ask them, why didn't they support the levy? What would they need going forward to support a tax district? And that's what I was trying to outline there. It wasn't calling out anything or anything like that.
It sure sounded like it to me, Patrick, that you were, the allegations that we were not being transparent, that we need a fiscal audit. Nobody's come to me and talked to me about anything like that in advance. It's always right in the middle of a public meeting. I can't believe that a commissioner won't come to me. I haven't talked to either one of you guys since before the levy. But you send your county council to me through an email or a phone call, which, by the way, Ted, it's very short conversations, and it's
Well, by the way, I sent you an email and you didn't answer it. That's why I called you.
I wasn't
And I didn't
there
do it
when I got the email.
Okay, well, so
wasn't available.
when you make it sound like I'm sneaking up on you, I'm not doing that. I call you, and this is out of line to be saying that. If you can call me anytime, and I got lots of questions, but you can call
Well,
me
I
and
don't
I
work
call
for
you.
you, Ted. You work for me.
No, I don't work for you. I
Yes,
do
you
not work for
All right.
you.
I'm the
All right.
elected official. You're not.
Absolutely not.
all right. That's enough.
I can't believe
That's
that you
enough.
guys would allow him to do what he's done with me over the past. So just keep that in mind.
All right, let's all take a breath here, Sheriff. The last time that you and I talked was in my office, and that got
Before the levy.
for the levy, and it got somewhat heated.
Yes, it did.
So, and I understand that, and I understand your passion about that. And I want to make this really clear. I'm trying to help you.
It
I'm not
doesn't
trying.
sound like it.
I'm
I
trying
supported
to.
you. Let me finish. I supported you. I endorsed you, and you ran on the pretense that you don't want the Curry County to be like Portland. Public safety has to be the #1 priority. Well, this whole budget season, and you know, I've talked to Keena a little bit about this. It seems like we've been on the defensive all the time, trying to figure out how to get us a budget. And then when I said, look, just tell me what numbers I have and I'll build a budget around it. But we kept saying, you got to cut here, cut there. Then to take the marijuana money that came to us that we had in our place, that we switched over to our civil criminal to save some deputies. And then you use it for funding other divisions, not my divisions.
We didn't use it to fund other.
I thought you used it for
No.
one position for the clerk and one position.
No, that's not true.
Well, you took money from us to do that. I don't know where it came from.
Sheriff, the only thing we did is we didn't continue to use the amount of road funds that we have been using for the past several years. And we did that. We stopped doing that because we all agreed that if we couldn't come up with a funding solution, then we would live within our means. We all agreed to that.
Well, I can tell you, when we started out, we were told 31% cut. Then it went to 41% cut. I don't see any other divisions that have taken the cuts that we have.
I would say you're probably correct, because 73% of the budget goes to law enforcement. So when we have to make cuts in the magnitude of that fashion, yes, the bulk of them are going to come out of the department that receives the majority of those funds. I mean, that's not. I understand what your point is, but it's not. It doesn't fit in the fiscal realm. So, you know, we have an obligation to ensure that we have mandated services that are covered. If we were to cut all the mandated services, we still would not have been able to fund you at the level you were funded at prior to this.
I don't agree with that, because in the past we've had road fund reserves that we could use, and you have a law that says you can use it. Yeah, we don't want to use it all, but use it enough just to keep us viable without having to cut, because
So
we're not going to get back what we lost.
Sheriff, we did use
Use the reserves,
$1.28 million in road funds this year.
which was interest paid from the road.
It's road fund reserves.
I understand that.
Okay, so we used $1.28 million in road fund reserves, right? That was more than we said we were going to. When we agreed last budget cycle, and when we were moving forward with a levy, we said, this is it. We can't continue to do this. So to say that we didn't is not completely transparent. We did. Now, you say, I disagree. Here's the reality. We were $4 million short. Those road fund reserves could have only been used for patrol, right?
Exactly.
So right now, you were about $2 million less in road patrol. We would have still, even if we would have funded road patrol at $3.4 million out of the road funds, we'd still be $2 million short. We still would have been making cuts. So to say
it wouldn't have been as bad, though. This is bad.
it wouldn't have been as bad to road patrol. The rest of the cuts that were made across the county would have still happened exactly as they did, because we had to make up that money, because we were not being fiscally responsible, because we were using one-time dollars to fund operational outcomes, not infrastructure outcomes.
Well, I didn't come over here to argue with you guys. I come over here to give you a status update, and that's what I did. If you have any other questions about that status update, we can talk about it. But I'm not going to sit here and argue about the funding and the road fund reserves and all that.
Well, no, you brought it up. You said that we could.
Made a point,
And
yes.
I'm trying to put some clarity to that point. That's not the whole picture. That's not the whole picture. And to say that it is not being fully transparent or understanding of what the totality of the budget looks like. That's what
I just like to say that all the departments had major cuts across the board, and they're feeling them. And to say that is not the case is not true. That all departments have suffered greatly. Now, a lot of them took those actions so that they could be at or where they needed to be with very few cuts, because we've been moving them. Like, for example, with the road department, we've been making cuts over the last year so that we can be 41% below the 23 budget. That's what we did. We looked forward and we said that's where we have to go, because the funding reality has been staring us in the face for a long time, and I, for one, have been talking about it for a long time.
I just don't understand why public safety has not been the #1 priority.
Public safety is the priority, but we're going to go bankrupt if we keep spending the way we're spending.
Well,
So do we go bankrupt?
other counties have done the same thing. I'm not saying use all the road fund reserves, but use it down to where we can at least have had enough money to save some of the deputies' jobs and provide public safety. My job is to provide public safety, and I can't do it with no deputies.
And again, we used almost 1.3 million in road funds for what we have. And this is what I'm not trying to have an argument or have further division. What I'm trying to do is come up with solutions. And I think that's what Commissioner-elect Hollinger was trying to do, was a piece of this is to answer the public's questions so that they will support the funding. We heard that feedback at the town halls. One of the key feedbacks we got was it's too much money. The levy was too much money. That's probably the most frequent negative feedback I got. The next question was, what's it going to be used for? If I'm going to pay $1 per thousand, what is that money? What's it going to be used for? Where's it going to go? And then, do we need it? Do we need that? What is the crime in Curry County? How many calls do we have? How many calls go unanswered? When do those calls go unanswered? That's the feedback I got from the town hall. And I think if we answer those questions and we give that to the public, they'll be more likely to support the heavy lift that we're asking them to do, which is to pay more money. Nobody wants to pay taxes right now.
Well, we can agree to disagree on that, because, my job is to respond to 911 calls and to take care of people's problems. I can't do that without funding.
Go ahead, Patrick, step up to the podium.
I'm not going to sit there and argue with Patrick.
No, this isn't an argument. I just wanted to point out that over the past couple of weeks, everyone who is sitting up here, Ravia, myself, and also the commissioners from Coos County, we've all been in talking, and we even had a workshop a couple weeks ago to come up with other funding solutions and other funding ideas. And the main reasoning behind getting this funding is for public safety and supporting not only our sheriff's department and you, sheriff, but their sheriff's department as well. They're feeling the same effects that we're feeling here as well. And so there's not any one of us that aren't trying our hardest to get you funding.
Is that all you need?
John, I just got to say, I feel your pain, and you know that we had one of the best budget committees we've ever had in the 3.5 years I've been here. And I think you could agree with that. I mean, and this was a tough decision, but it was unanimous. And one of my questions, and it's just something to think about, is we're going to go from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And everybody in this room knows that the boogeyman comes out after it gets dark. Is there any way we could move that?
I got to have my people on at the same time, because I don't have enough to spread them out. I have to be able to do it safely for the ones that I handle. Most of the calls come in during the day. Some of the hard ones come in at night. That's when we all agree that we will get called and respond.
Okay. That was just my question is.
I'm not going to send somebody out there by themselves.
Yeah, and we all agree on that.
Even though I'm not going to do that, I probably will end up going out on calls by myself.
Well, you can call me, I'll go with you.
I don't want anybody to get shot.
I don't want anybody going out there by themselves, because that's a liability risk for the county. That's the bad idea.
So real quick, Sheriff, back to the original. You're right. The commissioners are the ones who can put it on the ballot. But you can come up with a presentation or the idea in which you feel will be best supported by the community to support a law enforcement district. And if that's something you're keen on doing, we have to look at the timelines. We have to have it in.
I've already started.
Perfect. So we'll need it to be considered at our next meeting on the 7th to be to the clerk by the 16th
Of this month?
of August.
Like I said, I got started. I'm working on a board because a special district have to have its own board. And so
So if it's something that you,
the ballot measure will be written by the board of members, not you guys.
Right. Well, we want to help,
You have to put it on the board.
And we
You have
wanna-
to put it on the ballot.
and we want to help with that.
but the timeline is what's the crunch. That's the key piece that we have to acknowledge that timeline. So it has to be into the clerk by August 16th.
The ballot measure.
Yes.
Correct, yeah,
There's
correct
time-
verbiage and the whole,
But this is not the venue to discuss that right here.
I think it's great for the public to understand if we're looking
I
forward to.
understand that, but I'm saying to go over numbers and what we need to
No,
sit down
no.
and have a workshop about that.
Understood, 100% agree with you. It's just, it's good for the public to know that this is something that is being considered and working on.
And again, I don't have a problem with a financial audit with us whatsoever. We've been accused of hiding money by this board, and it was deemed that it wasn't true because it's always been in the budget. It's just been approved by the budget committee every year where that money was at, so nobody was hiding anything.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Just for workability and understanding, if the commissioners were to allot money from the road fund, what is a reasonable bottom line to take it down to, in your opinion?
15 million.
Okay. Great, that's great, thank you.
And we're at 17 right now?
And I need to clarify, nobody accused anybody of hiding money.
Yeah, it was. Maybe it wasn't you, Jay.
As the finance director, I can say, I don't think it was anybody hiding money. I think it was a very poorly done financial system that had a lot of moving parts in regards to that.
Well-
That made things not transparent, not of the sheriff's department necessarily, but definitely of the way things were done. And the finance department did have a big part to play in that.
And a misinterpretation of a tax law.
Correct.
That was under the assumption that it couldn't be revealed.
Correct.
Couldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, guys. Put up with that stuff. Sure.
Any further discussion, John?
no, sir.
Jay?
No.
Okay, then we'll move on. Next up on the agenda is our presentation, and that is from Commissioner-elect Hollinger and his associates. That would be you two.
Well, if Natasha can hear me, I'm plugging in our USB stick here. Okay, let's see if I can completely take down our technology.
That's-
out where our stick is at.
That's not funny here.
Okay.
You want me to help you?
Yes. Wonderful. Where is it? Where would it be? Okay.
I'm assuming it's, there you
The USB drive.
The file at the top.
This file right up here at the top.
Yes.
Okay. And
SRA and CSA.
this one here.
Bottom, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Did you create it with PowerPoint? Yes. I don't know if there's PowerPoint on that computer.
Well, there has to be. We've had a lot of different PowerPoints.
No PowerPoint? Okay.
Natasha, can you help?
I was gonna say, I don't think we do.
Perfect.
We have Adobe, but we don't have PowerPoint. I don't even have PowerPoint on my actual.
Can we transfer it from PowerPoint to Adobe? Take a 5-minute break and see if we can save it as.
Yeah. Well, we do that on your computer or this computer back here then? Yep. Okay,
Yeah.
let's do that.
Let's-
5-minute break.
No, I'm sure that'll be
Oh,
All right. All right, everybody, we are back on the record. It is 17:25 or 5:25, right on time. And Rabia has offered up her computer, which is probably the only computer in the county with PowerPoint, based on our budget constraints. So, go ahead, Patrick.
Yes, thank you again for having me. This will just be, I'll do the introduction here and how this all came to be about, and then I'm going to turn it over to the two experts to get into the real nuts and bolts of this and answer our questions and inform us on a very real, plausible solution for funding and protecting our county. So during my campaign process, I had the privilege to meet a lot of wonderful people, a lot of very smart people as well. I was invited to a candidate forum, and during that forum, I met with several other candidates. One candidate in particular, his name was Paul Romero, and I got to sit there and listen to him, and he ran for a seat here in Oregon, and he approached me afterwards, and he said, "Hey, I've been working on this thing to help fund counties. You might want to listen to me." I said, "Okay." And he goes, "It's the Apache County Conveyance Act, and it will allow the counties to be able to manage the resources that are within their county, but they're on federal lands." I said, "Okay, well, that definitely piqued my interest." So that's how it got started, and he put me in touch with Miss Loma Wharton here, who, as you could see by her little makeshift desk, has years of knowledge and information based on this, and essentially the roadmap for our county and counties within Oregon to follow. And also her partner here, Ray Kupitka, who's also very involved with this as well, very knowledgeable, and she comes with 17 years of Texas legislature behind her. She told me she was the special investigator for the Texas Attorney General for several years, and was well within the political arena for a good portion of her career, and through that also been able to network and be able to meet people and get ideas and research and etc. But one thing in particular I want to point out here is that Loma and Ray, they're just like we are. They're citizens of Douglas County. They've had some items passed down to them, unfortunately, by the federal government in regards to federal tax liens, etc. And what that did was it really lit a fire under both of them to be informed, to get educated, and to fight back against liberties being taken away. And because of that, they're here now, going to present with us a solution to get funding back for our county. And it's very inspiring to me. You know, it's people like you that have made me get more involved in community service, and then, you know, run for this position and being able to stand up for my county and help protect my county and our citizens. So with that, I want to turn the table over to Miss Loma Wharton, and she is going to run through this presentation for all of us and inform us on hopefully our solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. I'd also like to thank Paul Romero. I worked with him on a couple of his campaigns. Ray's the legislator. I'm the hairdresser. Retired hairdresser. And my husband passed away in '98. I ended up with my father coming to live with me. And I got sick and tired of my father telling me how corrupt my government was. And I said, "Okay, Daddy, I got a computer now. I'm going to prove you wrong, so tell me where to start." And I can close my eyes, and I see the smile on his face. He says you start with the Bilderberger Group and the Council on Foreign Relations, and you follow the money. And I proved him absolutely right. So I'm going to give Patrick our CDs on our presentation to the Douglas County Commissioners on the notice of federal tax lien fraud in the county clerk's office, because it's a notice. It's not a lien. You haven't been to court and proven that you owe the debt. And so I told my brother, I says, okay, we got to get this education out here. People got to know about it. And Roseburg Beacon allowed groups to put free notices in the paper and have classes. And that's how it started. The first class we had at the library, Ray's mother came. Second month, she brought Ray, and my life irreversibly changed, because I'd already spent 2 years searching and researching in the law library for Chuck Consis on notices of federal tax lien. And we ended up 4 presentations to the Douglas County Commissioners, okay? And on the 4th presentation, one of the commissioners came to us and told us that the IRS agents had been listening and threatened to sue the county if they wrote a resolution to put a notice of lien file within the lien index. And so we told her to ask them what law the commissioners or the county clerk would be breaking to do so. She did. They said if we told you that, we would be walking on eggshells. So, and then we had Liberators 2004, from 2004 until 2017, and we educated people. We also had the opportunity to work with sheriffs, and we formed the National Constitutional Sheriffs Association. Retired Sheriff Gil Gilbertson was one of them. Grant County, what's his name? Glenn Palmer. We had Bruce Haney out of Trinity County, and our first event was held in Reno, and this is where we met Doyle Shamley of Veritas Research and Consulting, and how we learned about the solution. Counties are superior. They're sovereign over the state and feds. And under health, safety, and welfare, you can write a resolution to take back control of your land. And that's what you're going to see tonight.
Where's the other county commissioners that are here? Okay. So everybody else has gotten a packet already. Here's you guys's.
And Sheriff Ward.
And the reason we started with the sheriffs is because they are the leading law enforcement agency, and the issues that were happening, was there another?
Just Sheriff Ward.
Yeah, just for Sheriff Ward.
You go. Sorry, if it goes back in, we've got it.
Okay, if you can't see, we got I want to try to.
At that time, there were a lot of lawsuits going on, a lot of crazies chaining themselves to heavy equipment, trees, God knows what else. The sheriffs were the first to respond. So, you sure you need that?
People on the live can't hear you.
Gotcha. Okay. So there were a lot of things going on with your environmentalists that caused the sheriff to be the first to come in, to have to handle situations. That is not the case at this point. A lot has changed. It is much easier for this to happen without those kinds of situations. There are more things that the county can do too, to protect itself and enforce its authority as it should be able to, without interference.
Okay, and by meeting Doyle Shamley, when they started this process, it's called the Apache County process, was in 2012. They had 2 sawmills, one without electricity, one with 1 shift. At the end of 45 days, they had both of those sawmills up and running 3 shifts, a pellet mill, a pallet mill, and Vaughan Brothers out of Washington had a portable sawmill. When they started this, and the rest of the counties around them saw what was happening, 4 counties around them have done the same thing, and 2 counties in Utah have done the same thing. and they have brought their counties back to life. Apache County, Arizona. So what you're going to get today is a brief overview of federal jurisdiction and statehood. I have to share with you that Mark Albertson, one of our county commissioners in Lake County, made the statement in our COVID meeting we had with them that he was an agent of the state. And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were appointed to this position. I thought the people in the county elected you." And he said, "Yeah, they did." I said, "So why do you say you're an agent of the state?" Well, he's an agent of the state because he was taught that at the Oregon State University Extension Program. Now, I don't know if either of you commissioners have been to it, but they're taught Agenda 21 and that they are agents of the state. And those are lies. You're an agent of the people that put you in office.
So we both went to county college, Commissioner Trost and I. That's not what we were taught.
What were you taught?
We were elected by the people. I
There you
worked for
go.
the people.
Okay, good. So what we have today is the problems facing county are ever-increasing federal agency encroachment, ever-increasing environmental litigation, but the Ninth Circuit has stopped the sue and settle, fortunately for us, and ever-decreasing coordination and cooperation from the federal agencies. And what your county wants is not coordination. You want them to cooperate with you. Dramatic impacts on our cultural and historic uses, drastic increases on attacks on local control, and a continual affront to local control and authority, continual systematic mismanagement, water grabs by federal agencies, unfunded mandates, wild and scenic designations, wilderness areas, no travel and quiet areas, and a destruction of the infrastructure in our industry. And the attacks are endless on all agricultural producers. Now they're going after the small farmers. Continual placement of plants, animals, and insects above the needs of the people. Bioregional governance, national planning rule, travel management rule, the Endangered Species Act, the National Environmental Policy Act, and the Federal Land Management Act. But there's a way out, with the counties and the states stepping up to their rightful place of authority and putting a stop to all of these actions, almost all of which are outside the proper scope of any agency's delegation of authority and or jurisdiction. But the counties must take back full control of property rights under health, safety, and welfare within their jurisdictions, and they must band together, especially in the western states, to accomplish this goal. Local governments are the highest and most authoritative we have in our republic. We're not a democracy. They must quit attacking the symptoms and start attacking the disease, which is federal encroachment. Apache County, Arizona Board of Supervisors saw an immediate need for action and began taking steps. First, with the county's resolution against the travel management plan, the national planning rule, the BLM wilderness areas, and next, contracting with a research, consulting, and plan implementation firm, which is Doyle Shamley's firm, and he ended up being the natural resources coordinator for Apache County. Veritas Research and Consulting, to retain a natural resources coordinator, which was Doyle, to represent Apache County to all federal agencies and formulate strategies to fight back. Then begin to utilize cohesive strategies to monitor all federal agency actions and properly submit commentary to have legal standing. Doyle testified in front of the Natural Resources Committee. And when he was done, the Natural Resources Committee recommended this process for all the western counties. And we have that in some of the documents I'll hand out in a little bit. Various actions that Apache County, Arizona had to defeat. Number one was the travel management rule, which is the largest attack on the right-of-ways and roadways infrastructure to date. Apache County, Arizona submitted a 24-page legal brief and commentary to the Federal Register and the United States Forest Service to effectively stop actions on the Apache Sitgraves National Forest. As one high-level agency personnel put it, it would be best if we let this plan die on the vine. The largest water grab and water claim filing by a federal agency in Arizona history was attempted in 2010-2011 by the United States Department of Agriculture and the United States Forest Service. Apache County led the fight by gathering all the agency water claims filed throughout the state, meeting with the Arizona Department of Water Resources to verify the data, then do official testimony to the Arizona Senate Land Use, Water, and Rural Development Committee. The next, Apache County did all the legal proceedings through the Arizona, whatever, Water Resource, District of Water Resources via the letters of protest, calling into question the federal agency's legal right, need, and ability to claim such waters. This resulted in the agency unable to answer the county's claim and having to drop the action due to the rules of the Arizona District Water Resources water claim filing statutes. The total claimed 916,390 billion, sorry. And then over 298 trillion gallons of the federal agency's desired control. The environmental community has a strategized plan called BioBits, where in 2011 the predominant environmental groups proclaimed they were going to seek uplistings through the Fish and Wildlife Service of some 700 species in 1 year. These uplistings were the areas of critical, threatened, and endangered species category, with a large portion of them in Apache County. Almost all of the species uplistings were tied to critical land and water resources, becoming a way to once again destroy cultural and historic uses. Apache County went on the offensive, systematically submitting commentary to the Federal Register, the Federal Fish and, Federal Fish, it's FWS, and I don't remember what that is, and the U.S. House Natural Resources Committee. This resulted in not a single one of these species filing petitions becoming effective in Apache County. They stopped them. The largest fire in Arizona history destroyed enough timber to have kept our largest mill, which had over 300 people employed, for 24/7 and lasting 21 years. The United States Department of Agriculture, the United States Forest Service RAT team estimates a conservative $110 million in damage to the Arizona National Forest. The systematic mismanagement of the federal agency was done under the guise of protecting threatened and endangered species. As well, they managed to burn up over 80% of the spotted owl's home, packs, nesting sites, and habitat. It looks like they love them to death. These two brief points are on top of the devastation to our tourism, watersheds, fisheries, hunting, etc. With the agencies having no plan on what to do with salvageable timber, Apache County forced the issue. Conducting working meetings with a 1-month deadline, Apache County forced the agencies into roadside salvage sales, which resulted in the harvesting of over 1 million board feet before winter hit. Closed mills reopened when hundreds of jobs were recreated. An individual lost in the Baldy Mountain wilderness forced our sheriff, search and rescue, sheriff's posse, and all local volunteers to mobilize. The agencies being of little to no help, our Apache County Sheriff, Sheriff Dedman, mobilized every member available with chainsaws, and closed and overgrown roads and trails were reopened by force through the 40-year-old wilderness area. Apache County, per the United States Forest Service, now has the authority to decide and declare when and to what severity the fire restrictions start and where. The Forest Service will just implement the county's plan as custodians. their properly defined jurisdiction status, and I'll show you a document that shows exactly what their jurisdiction is. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, the Forest Service strategically located permanent steel gates around the forest. These were done while the forest was still closed by the bear teams. When the forest was opened, Apache County unanimously passed the resolutions and hand-delivered them to all levels of the agency and elected officials. The Apache County Road Resolution categorically stated our constitutional authority over all right-of-way, roads, routes of travel, etc., within the exterior boundaries of our county. The Forest Service was also briefed by the sheriff on the resolution, which stated not only will the offenders be charged, fined, and jailed with Class 2 offenses, but will have to pay for all removal costs. The Apache County Board of Supervisors and the county sheriff was then given the keys to all the gates, and they remain in the locked position permanently. The locked open position permanently. Signage to be placed on each gate declaring the gate property of Apache County has already passed legal counsel and will be permanently affixed to any gates this year. Apache County took all the way to Washington, D.C. in person. Apache County's formulated and took all the way to Washington, D.C. in person, has gotten off the ground the first kind of program in America. And Doyle called it county stewardship, and he wished he hadn't because that's a New World Order term. The contracts are already signed and in our hands. They're in some of the documents I'm handing out to you, and consist of Apache County being the project designator, contractor, hiring, and working entity, and the United States Forest Service pays for the work out of their budget. Okay? Not one dime does the county have to pay out for this. The county makes money on taxes, licenses, fees, and permits. The industry does the work. Apache County also established and has signed contracts in our possession for the multiple-year umbrella or master agreements. These facilitate just a 3 to 4 page project agreement for each timber harvest or other projects and eliminate the need to renegotiate the finite details on each task. This saves a lot of time and speeds up the process exponentially. Apache County is now starting on another 1,800 acres by one community, 4,000 acres by another community, and is currently finalizing the plans for a 96,000 acre fire break project to go across the middle of our forest, east to west, to protect the communities as a whole. Now, this commission already has the authority to clean and log 300 feet back under your community wildfire protection plans on any road, whether it's dirt or pavement, up to 3.5 miles into the wildlife urban interface where topography allows. Can you imagine how much work that would produce and how much timber can be sold?
Say those numbers one more time.
300 feet back in the community wildfire protection plan, up to 3.5 miles into the wildlife urban interface. Okay, now these people's property that you brought in today on, what were they called? Annexation. So they own land that have buildings on them, right? Homes. They also are entitled to get Title III funds to clean and log up to 300 feet from every building on their property. And they can come to you to get it.
Who pays for it?
The Forest Service. And your you get Title I, II, and III funds, and I believe those come out of the Title III funds. So these attacks upon our history and culture are eroding the very basis of our constitutional republic and all local control mechanisms. The economic effect of the travel management rule alone, and in just Apache County, Arizona, per the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, the University of Arizona, and Arizona Game and Fish Department are as follows. Non-consumptive wildlife activities, 489 jobs. over $41 million. Hunting and fishing activities, over 1,000 jobs, over $54,000. Vehicular activities, 842 jobs. 54 million, thank you, I'm sorry. Vehicular activities, 842 jobs, over $76 million. I don't even know how to count that one. Trillion gallons of water, over 298 trillion gallons of water, 300 jobs for 21 years straight burned up in 2 weeks. 4 forest restoration initiatives has not even started, nor has the funding to do NEPA reports on our forest. The project has been whittled down from 100,000 acres year to just 10,000 acres years, with a possible start date in 6 or 7 years from now, stagnating them. The Wallow West treatment whittled down from January 2012 to April of 2012, from 96,000 acres to just 15 acres, spread out over 3 years, if they get funding. Also, the CBD has already sent notification in writing that if one tree with green still on it is cut, they will litigate. So this is why you must fight. Counties are the most powerful and knowledgeable level of government. The sheriff is the highest law enforcement official in the land. And then they provide the Arizona statute for that, and I'm still having a hard time finding the one for Oregon, but it remains. He is the highest law enforcement officer. County and then state governments are the proper authorities for all actions in our constitutional republic, the future of our great country and our posterity. Some of the legal basis that Apache County used was the U.S. Attorney's Manual, Title IX, Section 665, look it up, which determines federal jurisdiction, and I'll show you that on a document I have. The United States has jurisdiction only if the land or the building is within the special territorial jurisdiction of the United States, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. Forts, arsenals, dockyards, magazines, and other needful buildings. If the land is other than a military base, the Regional Counsel's Office of the General Services Administration usually has the complete roster of all federal lands and buildings in its region and can frequently provide a definitive answer to jurisdiction. Each United States attorney would be well advised to request from each agency within the district a report on the jurisdictional status claimed for each of its facilities and assurance that documentation is available. The General Services Accounting region is, shows you down here where Arizona is. And one of the documents I will provide to you is the jurisdiction from the General Accounting Services. Some of the legal bases Apache County used was also the GSA Region 9 Pacific Rim region, which serves Arizona, California, Hawaii, Nevada. Regional Counsel Chip Morris gives his phone number and his email address, and I don't know if he's still there because this was in 2012. Yeah. So the GSA Region 10 for the Northwest Arctic region includes Oregon, Alaska, Idaho, and Washington. Elizabeth Kruger and her contact information. I don't know if she's still there. But more of the legal basis Apache County used was the type of legislation jurisdiction, which is Code 4, you'll see on the documents that I hand you, which is proprietarial interest only. This term is applied to those instances wherein the federal government has acquired some right or title to an area in a state, but has not obtained any measure of the state's authority over the area. Needful buildings, clause, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of the Constitution for the United States does not include forest or public parklands. And that's in Collins versus Yosemite Park, Curry County. And we have that documentation for you. It's on the thumb drive. In the Organic Act of 1897 and the Weeks Forestry Act of 1911, which the Weeks Act has never been applied in Oregon, Congress authorized the states to retain jurisdiction over the national forest. Title 16 of USC, Statute 30, number 36, and 963. That's where those are. The Act of May 9th, 1941, 55th statute at 183 codified that 43 USC 931A authorized the Attorney General to retrocede jurisdiction over roads across federal properties. The Act of October 23rd, 1962, 76 statute at 1129 codified at 40 USC 319 extended this power to executive agencies' heads generally, which are your natural foresters. In 1970, Congress authorized federal agencies again to retrocede jurisdictions over the lands. In 76, the Secretary of the Interior obtained a retrocession authority with respect to national parks. And in 1978, the Secretary of Agriculture was added as well. Congress has made all federal property, including federal enclaves, subject to state environmental requirements, and the power to enforce state environmental laws includes the power to enforce criminal visions for those laws. And that's 133 Mill L revised 290, whatever those are in 91. To all the above points of jurisdiction, a federal officer who is outside his jurisdiction loses his law enforcement authority and can only make a citizen's arrest. So you got Forest Service agents or BLM agents making arrests here. That's unlawful. They don't have jurisdiction to do that. They can only make a citizen's arrest. And that's in People versus Chrysilla, 77 Cal App 4th 14191 of 1999. And now we're going to go to the fun part. You're also attached to Siskiyou County here? Okay. Yes, Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest. Did any of you commissioners bring any of the documents that I gave?
I have them all on my laptop.
Okay. Did you, legislative jurisdiction over federal areas, okay? And this comes out of the General Accounting Office, and I have some here if you want to give to them or hand out to whoever wants any. Okay, number one is exclusive legislation jurisdiction. Number two is current legislative jurisdiction. Number three is partial legislative jurisdiction. And number four is proprietarial interests only, okay? In order for the BLM or the Forest Service to have exclusive legislative authority of any property in this county, there has to be a state statute citing the laws are in term of sessions statutes regardless of whether or not they have been codified. Each citation shows the year of enactment of the cited statute, the page number of the volume of the state laws in which it was codified, and the chapter or equivalent number of the state law. There has to be a federal statute. Citations for federal laws are shown in cases where legislative jurisdiction was obtained by a reservation in the Enabling Act authorizing statehood. These citations show volumes and page numbers of the statute at large, and the acceptance or recordation date is critical here. This is the date that represents the month, day, and year on which the federal government accepted legislative jurisdiction, which means the land had to be ceded to them, okay? So we're talking proprietarial interests. So let's turn the page. And what I have for you here is the jurisdiction of federal lands in your area. It's a multi-county installment of the Agricultural Forest Service. And if you look at the very middle where I've outlined in yellow, it says jurisdictional code. Okay, so let's turn to the back page. It's upside down and I apologize for that. For the Rogue River National Forest, which is down the page, and in that little tiny section, what's the number that's there? 4. They have proprietarial interests only over the Rogue River National Forest and the Siskiyou National Forest too. If you look at any of the others up here, one says the post office, the other says the post office, and it gives you the date and the time of session. They only have proprietarial interest over your land, period. Okay, now what Apache County, or what Doyle, what Doyle did, there's 2 ways that you can have Doyle up here. You can hire him as a natural resources coordinator. What I suggest is you bring him up here and have him educate you. Because these are the books that you're going to get. It's a 2-day class, 16 hours. And this book is the RS 2477, which is the road out of territorial bondage. And what this will show you is, insofar as we permit the sovereignty of our states to be consumed by the federal government, it is to our liberty through Republican self-governance consumed, and the sacrifice of our forefathers and the birthright of our progeny is squandered. And I have this as an extra, if you'd like to give one each to the commissioners, please.
Sure.
He also has the property, they also have the property clause, okay? And then we did a book that lays out federal jurisdictions over the states. And then this is the book that has all the laws in it, backing up what they do. Okay, now we also talked about the wildlife-urban interface. And if you look at Oregon 477015 definitions, as used in Oregon Revised Statute 477015 to 447016, unless the context otherwise requires, forest-urban interface means a geographic area of forest land inside a forest protection district where there exists a concentration of structures in an urban or suburban setting. Go down to number B. Governing body means the Board of County Commissioners or county court of a county, as the case may be. That shows there again what your jurisdiction is. And then I've also added a document that shows the 3-phase solution to put the counties back to work. That's on the thumb drive. Did you guys get that either? Have you printed it out and looked at it?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I have them here if anybody else wants some. And she's going to tell you no, but I'm going to talk to you guys as citizens of this county. If you know and understand what their jurisdiction is, you'd be able to hold their feet to the fire permanently, or any new commissioners that come in, because you know and understand what the jurisdiction is, which they need to know too. So the three phases to the solution to put counties back to work in the timber industry are phase 1, 2, and 3 that are listed. Okay. Apache County's resolution that's in here is in 2011 through 14, they declared an emergency in Apache County, Arizona, due to the Wallow Fire, degraded forest condition, imminent threats from catastrophic fires, and extreme drought. It's on page 3. You also have Doyle Shamley's testimony before Congress's Natural Resource Committee. You have a copy of the Cronkite report from the Natural Resources Committee stating that they recommend the Apache County solution to be the solution to all western counties. That's included here. And yeah, his presentation to Congress was, Natural Resources Committee was really awesome. You also have a letter here from retired Sheriff Gil Gilbertson supporting this solution from Josephine County. And I also put in here a copy of his testimony for a subcommittee on national parks, forests, and public lands. And then putting the people back to work on the land with their solutions and so on. So do you want to talk about that? Okay. That's right, that name goes into here. So this is Ray.
So as you can see, we can bury you in paper, all right? But knowledge is power. You can also see that this was done in 2012. There's so much more that has happened since then. And there's even more to come out with the Chevron ruling. So, and Doyle is up at the Arizona Supreme Court right now, and some of the things that he's going to come out with are going to be incredible. One of the things that we ran into back then was that agencies had too much power, which is exactly why the Supreme Court overruled Chevron. Okay? So this is going to make it much easier for counties to do this, to put those agencies in their place, to question, okay? And to move forward and take over the jurisdictional control that you have. Okay? That's your authority. Remember, we have a bottom-up government. And we're seeing this in our political climate right now. Everything is changing. We are going back to a constitutional republic. We are going back to a republic of the people. But that means that we have to be responsible stewards of our lands. We also have to be responsible, each of us individually, okay, as people, as elected officials on the lower levels, and understand, what does that oath mean? What did I just swear to? Okay? Because if you've never read the Constitution, you're going to get screwed. Because the people are going to start holding everybody, hopefully including themselves, responsible for us ending up where we are today. And we did this years ago. We talked to a lot of people. This is our first presentation in probably 14 years. But everything still applies. Every law, every act, every rule, every statute, every contractual agreement, every plan that the Forest Service has had to shelve because of fear, okay, of a lawsuit and retaliation, all is still in place. It all still stands. It can happen that quick. That quick. And the thing that I want to really enforce is that this costs the county zero. Nothing. It brings in money. It solves the problem that every Oregon county is facing. And when I ran for county treasurer many, many years ago, when we were out talking about this, that was one of the things I said. 5 years, you're bankrupt. Nobody wanted to listen. Okay? We were crazy back then. Right? Now we just love looking at people and going, well, we tried to tell you. Sorry. Didn't want to listen. You will come up against opposition. The agencies are used to being in control. They are used to believing that they have authority over each one of you sitting up there, and they do not. But unless you understand the authority and jurisdiction and how that applies, you don't know any better. We can show you step by step exactly how to implement this. You can talk to other counties who have implemented it. The things that they have come up against, you can learn from them. This is a duplicatable process. And it will take pressure from the people too, okay, to say, no, we're done. We're done with the fires. We're done with choking to death. We're done with our forests looking like crap. We're done with the decrease in all of our flora, our fauna, our animals, everything. I mean, the mismanagement is egregious. And this is also where we can go back under Chevron and sue the agencies because you can show a monetary loss.
We can do that.
Okay? So a lot of things have opened up. There's so much possibility now. And I really do hope you take a serious look at this. It can even create the funds needed to staff a full-time person, which we would highly recommend. You know, whether that be you bring Doyle in for 6 months to train somebody to do it and to follow through, or I'm sure he has people that he can refer. Okay? But he is the expert, and he has trained other experts in the other counties where they are currently doing this. All right? We just want to get the information out because we're tired of it. We've had enough. Okay? I spent enough time with the deep state. I left Texas to get out of the deep state. I came to Oregon only to find out 12 years later that it was even worse here than it was there. So, you know, but I'm not going to put up with it anymore. So if you guys have questions, we're happy to answer them. There was one back here.
So, hold on a second, Commissioner. What I'd like to do is kind of, I'm going to give each of you guys an opportunity to ask all your questions, but I want to do it from the podium with a microphone so people can hear. So let's kind of go around. Jay, do you have anything you want to start with? Any questions?
Not so much questions. So I understand that there are a lot of moving parts to this initiative. Now, towards
Ordinance, resolution, etc.
Right, initiating this process. Okay, so so one of the things, so a couple of factual things. I'm not sure how up to date you are on Curry County. So we have suffered catastrophic wildfires, and every one of them to date has started in federal lands. And
one, but it was like 4 acres.
yeah, but and so just to clarify, one of the parts to initiate is a declaration, a resolution declaring an emergency. Under health, safety, and welfare. Right. Basically, protecting our citizens from the mismanagement of federal lands and the danger that mismanagement puts everyone in.
If you read
Grab the
the
mic.
resolutions, oh, sorry. If you read the resolutions that they wrote, you know exactly how to do it.
I did.
Okay.
That's how I'm
Yeah.
kind of gleaning this much as far. So
You have to have your 3 meetings, no less than 10 days, no more than 30 days. You invite what they call stakeholders. I just say all people involved. You answer all the questions. When you're done, if all the questions are answered, you sign the resolution, it becomes an ordinance.
right. Okay. So that helps clear up that piece for me. And obviously, a lot of it, like you said, it requires tenacity and follow through. And
Because at those meetings, you will get pushback from the Federal Forest Service agencies and possibly from BLM, and they will use what we call guerrilla tactic negotiations, where they will set up the room in a particular way, where they will set people in the room in particular places. They will, deception.
Yeah. Yeah.
So BLM, Forest Service, who are the other stakeholders?
Department of Agriculture.
But we're doing the meeting.
So we set the room up.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been in those other meetings, yeah.
Yeah.
Fish and game.
Okay, yeah.
Fish and Wildlife.
Yeah.
And anybody who has anything to do with land, you want to invite. You don't want them to ever be able to say, we weren't notified.
Gotcha. Okay. That's all the questions I have. I mean,
So,
I have more, but
sounds like the ordinance part is relatively easy,
Simple.
but it sounds like it's, the time process after that can be pretty,
Well, it's set up, I think it was, you have to hold it at, like I said, no less than 10 days, no more than 30 days.
okay?
You have to follow all of the Open Meetings Acts
Okay.
rules. That's the time consuming part. Once that's done, then there's nothing standing in your way. You start, you get going. So while you're doing that process, you are setting up private industry. You are talking to people about, what you have that they might be able to use, utilizing local businesses first, and then reaching out from there to have everything set up and ready to hit the ground running after that last meeting, including the Forest Service with all of their shelved plans.
So Ray,
A lot of projects. The Forest Service, I talked to one of the agents over there, and I told him about this process. And I said, he says, well, what's it going to do to our jobs? And I says, understand one thing. You need to check and see how many jobs you have shelved because of environmental interference. Because once the county takes back their jurisdiction, it frees you up from suit, and you can work those old projects. So just take a look and let me know. I don't want to know anything about what they are. I just want to know how many projects have been shelved. Because they end up cooperating, not doing any coordinating. They end up cooperating with you guys, and you guys lead the charge.
so they go from a guerrilla
you
to
can hold that one.
cooperating?
We got a second one out.
Oh,
So essentially, we control our natural resources.
absolutely.
Correct.
That's what taking back your jurisdiction is all about under health, safety, and welfare.
So could this concept apply to our ocean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
It's natural resources.
Because we have another problem there that's a separate problem, which is the government wanting to come and put windmills in our ocean, which we do not want.
You can stop that.
And that is not the actual government. Those are NGOs and other agencies, which are the bane of our society.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why we are suggesting that not hiring Doyle, but getting him to come here and give you a class, paying him to come here and give you a class with all of this, because at the end of those 2 8-hour days, there's going to be no question in your minds.
Okay.
You're going to know exactly what you want to do.
How
Okay.
expensive is he?
It doesn't cost you a penny. Oh, as far as bringing him in?
Yeah.
You have to talk to him about that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to speak for him.
I don't remember how it was. I think it was like $350 for
It was
a class.
long time ago.
Yeah, and that was a long time ago. I don't know what
All right.
they are now.
Yeah, you can.
So
If you all came together, you could
Yeah.
split it amongst counties.
So I want to give the Coos County Commissioners an opportunity to ask some
Okay.
questions. So we might have to share a microphone here, but Commissioner Taylor?
Can I have the dog?
Thank you for asking, though.
Come up here in case.
So as I go through, first of all, I wanted to speak to that cost of having Doyle, and yes, I'm sure that we would be open to sharing that cost so that we could defray that between the counties. But as I look at this list of jurisdictional status of federal land areas, I don't immediately see any land areas popping out to me that actually exist in Coos County. We do have other lands that are not mentioned in this list. We have we have the Coos Bay Wagon Road lands, we have the O&C forest lands, but I don't see those on this list. So I'm wondering.
Same rules apply.
Uh-huh.
Once you take back that jurisdiction and you've invited all those people to those 3 meetings and everything is settled, all the questions are answered, once you sign that resolution, you control it all of your lands within your county.
All right. Okay, very good. Thank you.
And that has been an excuse that has been used since we started presenting this, is that Oregon is too checkerboarded. We've got to deal with too many agencies. There's too many fingers in the pie. Okay? They all have the same jurisdiction, which is none.
All right. I yield the microphone. Commissioner Sweet?
Yeah, I'd like to set the record straight. There's a reference to a meeting amongst the Coos County commissioners and the Curry County commissioners. I must have missed it.
Well, a workshop
A workshop.
a couple weeks ago.
I
We had a workshop and Rod came.
Yeah, and Rod came. It wasn't the entire commission.
Correct, yeah.
So for me, this is the first time I've heard of it.
Well, we didn't even talk about this then, really. Johnny was more about the sales tax and.
Oh, okay.
And this presentation coming up.
Yeah, but it is the first time I've heard of it. It's a lot to absorb at one time. I think we are all in a position, it's not unique to Coos and Curry County, it's unique to most every rural county in the state. It sounds almost too good to be true, and there's no adage about that.
There is.
So I think we are duty bound to explore explore alternatives, revenue raising opportunities. And I would like to do that, but until I fully understand it, I'm not for or against it. I'm just like most other revenue sources we're looking at it. I want to learn more about them and I want to explore them.
And you absolutely should, because if you are going to move forward, you need to understand it inside and out because of the opposition that you will be facing as you move forward with this, with the authority that you should. So.
Commissioner?
Commissioner Bob Main, Coos County. Like John, first thing I know about it, I read a little bit when I knew this meeting was coming up about Apache County, but it didn't tell me much over the internet. So I'll read all the handouts, try and absorb, think about it. I'll be willing to go to the class if we all have a class together from this person who I don't even know who this is, but okay, I'll listen because maybe it'll work out. I mean, never know. And if I'll give you my card, okay, and contact me in a bit with your names and addresses or whatever contact info.
Okay, and I will also look up under GSA anything on Coos County because I noticed it's not in that. I do apologize, and send it to you so that you have it. You had another question?
A danger I see that we both experienced is that getting appropriate revenue to run our counties is very, very difficult. I sometimes think that all too often our citizens think there's some alternative out there that's not going to cost us as citizens any money. I'm not saying this isn't a good idea. All I'm saying is we don't know that's a good idea yet. And the more ideas that we talk about before we know about them in depth, the less likely we are to be able to enact some of the already existing and traditional sources of revenues. So I think as we talk about this, we should try our best to say we're looking for new sources, but we don't know whether this is good or bad or indifferent yet. Otherwise, you're going to defeat everything we're trying to do. If people are led to believe this is right around the corner and it's a darn sure thing, it's going to happen, you're not going to get a new public safety organization, and we're not going to get any new tax levy passed. So I think we have to be very careful how we approach this.
I couldn't agree with you more, Commissioner, and we both have an immediate problem, and we need an immediate solution. And I think we do have an obligation, and we should be doing our due diligence to explore every other option. And you know what? If we ask the people to provide some form of taxation to get us through this gap right now while we work through these other solutions, and as soon as those other solutions can be put in place, then we stop that immediately. And I think we're all in agreement to that. And like our presenter said, there will be pushback from these organizations and legal fights, and none of that happens quickly. We know how that works.
We're kind of used to pushback.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
A little bit of history. In the mid-'80s, Coos County received about $25 million in ONC receipts for our general fund. That represents 5.9% of 50% of the total harvest in the ONC forest in Western Oregon. With the Northwest Forest Plan in the late 90s, then with the new RMPs, resource management plans by the BLM, et cetera, last year from the Treasury, we received 1.3. Now, we only get $6+ million in property tax revenue to run the general fund. Part of the general fund is the jail, as you know. The jail alone is 7.8. Now, we all Western Oregon counties got tired of no harvest on the ONC forest, and in 2016, we filed in federal court. We won. It was then the day of the last day to appeal. The Biden administration appealed to the federal appeals court, which they overturned us. And this past May, we filed with the U.S. Supreme Court. U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear our case.
Correct. Yeah, so, Commissioner Main, I represent us for the ONC committee. So I'm fairly versed on some of this, and you know, the one thing, and just on that topic, that may have some, we can't give up hope, right? And the Chevron ruling may provide us that avenue.
We, the ONC Association, have the attorneys looking at that.
Right. No,
I don't know if you know, I'm vice president of the ONC Association for the last 6 years or so. So we are diligently looking at the Chevron deference decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's deference decision, where the courts gave deference to the agencies for the last almost 40 years.
Right.
And now they no longer have that authority. So what this does is it forces the branches of government to do what they're supposed to be doing in the first place, okay? The legislative branch writes the laws. We've not been writing clear, concise laws.
That's what happened to the EPA about 6-8 months ago. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled on the EPA on some of their in-house policies that they didn't have the authority through Congress, so they couldn't do that.
Correct. So this is a simple program, a simple process. It's step by step, but by no means will it be easy. Okay? Is it going to happen immediately? Absolutely not. However, it is a continuous flow of income and revenue for the counties that implement it, that can be counted on each year for the budget.
Can I ask a quick question? In regards to liability, so if we're taking back our rights to property, what's the liability then on the county? Since BLM or you spoke to different tasks that were put aside due to litigation and such, and now they're going to move forward. Does that mean that that liability is then all sent back on the county for those litigation processes, or?
It forces the BLM and the Forest Service to cooperate with you. So you have the final say. They can just go back to all of those programs that they've had shelved and start working them. And Doyle can explain that to you in more depth too.
So when BLM was working on a brand new RMP, and we filed, each county filed for cooperative status, and they ignored us.
Right.
So now,
Because you didn't have jurisdiction.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that is going to be an interesting process is, as Commissioner Main had noted, that the Chevron ruling was 40 years ago, and so we have two generations of individuals who don't know anything different in terms of being able to rewind what those rights look like, and it's going to take a lot of effort to kind of re-grasp what that looks like now that that ruling has come down.
But the courts have also been starting to move away from, they've been ignoring the Chevron deference in a lot of cases over the last number of years. So the finding is actually just sort of acknowledging the reality that process wasn't working. It's, the process of agencies just, this is, I mean, you can even see it in if you think about it, just in our forest fires that we've had over the last 15 years, you have to admit the last couple of fires are way different. They're way, all of a sudden, because before they walk in and they treat you like no one listens. They do the stupidest things. They burn everything down and they leave. But they actually were listening more in the last couple of fires, and we asserted with our local fire organization, Coos Forest Patrol, we said, you're going to listen to them, and they did, and it was really successful. So I think that, a lot of the people in these agencies actually want, they want to do, you're right, a lot of those people there are all kinds of big projects out there. They got shelved because of the threat of a Merlet or whatever over the years, anything they could think of. Those things were sitting there, they were walked away, and that's why when you look at the amount of, now we've taken a productive forest and turned it all into, late successional old growth that it's not what it was intended to be. And I think that this is, a lot of people would like to be a part of what the Forest Service used to be, which was a productive, it was incredible, these are assets of the United States that benefit everybody in the country if it's used right. But instead we've just been burned.
Absolutely. And I agree 100% with what you said, that it's been changing over time, and that the people in those agencies really want to do their job. They really do. And what's happening is that the change in the guard at the top is making that more and more popular, okay?
Yeah.
The upper echelon is falling apart, okay? They are scrambling, and they're eating each other right now. So now is the time to act and get in on this as best you possibly can. Be those leaders, be those frontiers people who boldly go where others have feared to tread. Somebody's got to do it at some point, and they have. And like I say, more information will be coming out with those successes.
I'd like to make a comment too, if I could, please. And it piggybacks off of something very important that Commissioner Sweet brought up, and that was the transparency and being able to get our citizens behind us. both of our counties just went through a big ordeal with our budgets and cuts and the issues of not having enough revenue for funding our departments. What better opportunity for our county and their county than right now to be able to hold maybe a couple workshops that allows our public the opportunity to come here to get educated alongside us so that they know and that they could tell their neighbors and families and friends and the businesses so that they can help support and get behind us so that, you know, if or when we do move forward with this, we have the support and we have the resources and the businesses ready to go. But this again, I think there's a theme tonight, and that's transparency within our counties. And what better time now than ever than suffering huge defeats that have been passed down for years and years and years. And now we're the ones having to deal with those, I guess, sins of the past. So I'd like to make sure that, you know, we do keep those open lines of communication with our citizens as well as with our fellow commissioners, because this has the potential to very much help their county out as well.
So, commissioners, can I make a recommendation? So, I think like all of us, public safety is a priority to every one of us, and we want to fund it, and we want to make sure that we're putting forward the maximum amount of public safety we can in our communities. So, how about we take a couple of days to process the information we got tonight, and then perhaps early next week, I speak to Commissioner Taylor regularly. Commissioner Taylor and I can talk. Maybe you guys kick around some ideas of how we can work together to maybe bring the people here that we need to. Maybe identify who would best serve your counties to attend that or be part of that, and maybe a process that we can all work together and agree on, and then and figure out together how we can do that.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think that that's a great plan. Of course, in order to engage that discussion amongst ourselves, we'll have to do that in the context of a work session. Next week is challenging for us, even though I think the timeline is very important. We do have our fair next week. And for myself, I'll be engaging the public quite a bit at the fair in order to assess viability among the public for some of these other fundraising ideas that we're pursuing on the shorter term. But generally, I think that you're exactly on the right track. So we will schedule an internal work session among ourselves. Of course, you and I can converse freely, but in Coos County, we will have a work session to discuss how we'd like to proceed on that and engage you guys. And then I think also it would be appropriate to draw in the Douglas County Commissioners, along with some of our significant timber operators in each of our counties and other significant people among the public who might be really helpful to draw into that process and participate in that class with Doyle. So I'd appreciate aligning with you ladies to get connected with Doyle and start talking about pulling that class together and how to fund that between us.
Yep, let's work together, Rod, and let's make that happen.
We can
Very
do that.
good. Yep.
I'd like.
What is your meeting dates? When do you guys meet?
First and third Tuesday of each month is our regular board meeting. We can schedule a work session anytime.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do any of you know and understand why the Homestead Act was enacted? Okay, one of the researches that I did at Oregon Archives was when Oregon and all the western counties became states, there were 6 propositions sent out to be voted on by the people to give the land back to Congress. They were never voted on by the people. The legislatures did it. And that's why they created the Homestead Act, because Congress is supposed to dispose of all of the land. And that's what they were doing with the Homestead Act until they absolved it. That's a fact. So, but we'd be happy to work with you guys to get in touch with Doyle and move forward.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. It's been awesome.
Thank you guys so much for coming.
Yes.
Yeah,
Good job,
thank,
ladies.
thank you so much for taking time to come discuss and really bring that, level of knowledge to us. And I mean, I firmly believe, as you do, that local governance is where it's at. That's where impactful decisions that directly impact our communities are made at the local level.
It's called sovereignty.
And if there's the ability to increase local control, I think we have to explore those diligently as best we can.
Yes, thank you for coming. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it. I have a sign on my truck. I had the right to remain silent, just not the ability. And that's why I'm here.
That's good. That's
All right.
good.
I'm gonna jump back into this agenda then and get us through the rest of it. The presentation being complete, Director of Operations update. Ted, anything? We had a DCO meeting earlier. We went over a lot of it.
I think
so.
we pretty much hashed over everything that's current. I think we brought, we've been doing a few things with regard to department heads and being aware, with the reshuffling of various departments and employees therein. I think this is a good time for us to kind of reset accountability among the department heads and employees, and who's responsible to make sure that everybody's performing to the best of their ability and getting the help they need, and that's what we talked about earlier today.
All right. So, Commissioner updates. Commissioner Herzog, you brought up a conflict with a meeting date. What were the options to mitigate that?
Well, to move the meeting on the 22nd of August to another day, the 29th or 21st, I know doesn't work, right, Jay, because that's school board meeting.
21st, I got a school board meeting. I am fine with the week following. The 29th is fine with me.
Okay, then let's move it to the 29th.
Okay.
We'll do that's our 4 p.m. meeting, so we'll do it on the 29th.
Thank you.
That work?
It does.
Any other updates, Commissioner?
No, sir.
Jay?
No, yes, quickly. So we discussed this a little bit in our DCO meeting. I was trying to get some information. Commissioner Sweet had reached out to me about the District 4 AOC meeting coming up, and we were looking for information that we would like AOC to look into for us as a county. And so I can get that information over to Commissioner Sweet. And then I finalized my appointment to the Regional Solutions Group. So I received the final, approval.
Okay.
So I will, I think we have a meeting coming up next month. I will keep everyone abreast of that. I did go to the All Care, Citizen Advisory Committee discussion. I met with the advisor beforehand because we had a previous meeting, but they are they're very understanding of our current situation. One thing that I think that we need to do, we need to schedule another workshop to discuss our relationship and role with our LMHA, our local mental health authority, which currently is ADAPT, because that That authority was handed over. And would be a continuance from a meeting that we had last year.
A year ago, yeah.
Oh,
And,
more.
you know, we had identified some benchmarks that we would like to have seen completed, and I think it's prudent that we reconvene that meeting and assess where they are with those benchmarks going forward. The clock is ticking. If we want to take back the LMHA, the time frame for that would be 2025. So if that is the case, we will need a year of ramp-up time.
Yeah.
But based on the way things are going, I think you sort of have a duty to go in that direction. I don't
Well-
think that the people are being adequately served.
I want to get, yeah, well, I think we need, I believe that we're not correct, yes. And we need to see what the plans are. You know, we still don't have a position on the board. We don't have an advisory committee in our county for behavioral health. We don't have an advisory in our county for addictions as well. So we definitely have some ground to make up there.
Let's have that sooner than later. I think we should.
Okay. We'll work, maybe we'll discuss in our next DCO or
Okay.
what dates work
Yep.
for everyone. Okay.
All I have update-wise is the fair situation. Again, just to synopsize that, we had some changes in the fair board. The fair board resigned. We reappointed the fair board, which has been in place for a short period of time. We have a new fair manager who's only been there for a few weeks, and man got hit with a lot of tasks, to say the least. So we're all behind the curve on that. We're trying to do the best we can to have the best fair we can, and trying to make as few mistakes as we can, but there's a big learning curve there with that fair. So we'll get through it. We'll have a good fair, and we will have a very strong fair after that, I'm sure, because we're all learning a lot. But we need volunteers. Yes, ma'am.
Can I just throw one thing out on the fair? Last year, there was no medical send for first aid or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It was needed. And so I just wanted to remind you guys that it was a big deal that there was nothing.
So, and thank you for that. I can tell you that we will have 2 officers there each day. We've changed that. I've worked with Chief Hensley on that, and we're going to have 2 officers there each day. They'll be from different agencies throughout the county, but we'll have 2 guys there each day, and we'll make sure those medical needs are taken care of as well. So those are some of the public safety changes that we've made. We made a lot of changes. We're making more changes, and you'll see when you go to the fair, some of the infrastructure has been repaired. We have some big plans moving forward to prepare some of the larger structures to make next year's fair even better. So, but volunteers are always an issue. So anybody in the public that's interested, reach out to the fair manager or any of us, and we'll put you in touch with the right people. I'll be taking tickets on Thursday, so nobody's getting in free. And
We'll see about that.
and I think you'll be there. You might be there Thursday too. Yeah.
Thursday afternoon.
Yep. So, and I appreciate the community member who stepped up, Jesse. That's what we need. We need solutions right now. We don't need further divisions, more conflict. We don't need that. We're all facing difficult adversities right now, especially when it comes to funding. And right now, we all need to work together to come up with those solutions, and we need to work together to move this county forward and create change that will be long-lasting, way past when I'm done doing this job. And we need that unity right now. So I encourage that. That being said, I don't have anything else. Go ahead,
Can I
Jay.
add on to that? I
Go
was
ahead.
just in that same frame of mind. It's a, you know, right now, and the citizens are feeling this as much as anything else. Right now, we're going through the struggle, right? And you have to go through a struggle to get to the breakthrough. I mean, that's how breakthroughs occur. And however, the line to getting to the breakthrough only gets longer when we face divisions, when we face internal strife, adversity, in terms of things that are within our span of control that don't need to be in that fast. We don't need to point fingers. We don't need to place blame. We need to be in a position where we're looking for the solutions, where we're working adequately together towards those solutions, not working against or in opposition of towards those solutions. And so I want to remind that this is the hard part, and it's happening. It's happening with the county. It's happening with the fair. It's happening in public safety. It's happening, in our little space of the world. However, the solution is to stay aligned, focus on the priority, and we will achieve the outcomes.
Yeah.
100%.
Well said, and I completely agree with you. And we all, no excuses, personal accountability, prioritizing our problems and executing them. That's what we need to do and how we need to proceed forward. And we'll end on that note at 18:51 or 6:51 hours. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.